Are you ready, Anna, for some wholesome trans coming out stories?
I am always ready for some wholesome trans coming out stories. These are my fucking favorite.
They can be really, really good. And this first one comes from Adrian Brown, who decided to come out to his mom. And she came up with the idea of, wait for it, an adult gender reveal party.
See, I love adult gender reveal parties so much. Congrats, Adrian. Let's fucking hear the story.
When your child comes out as trans, the best thing to do is create a photo shoot to celebrate the fact that he silently and bravely stepped out of the race that he never wanted to be in, found his own lane, and proceeded to win. Happy 20th birthday, Adrian. You are without a doubt the most fascinating human I know, and I will always be your biggest fan. I love you, I honor who you are, and I respect your courage unapologetically. What she set up was literally balloons that popped out of a box and the sign that says, "It's a boy." And they gathered some close people together in order to provide that experience for them. So not only
That's
way to go,
amazing.
Adrian, but way to go, Adrian's mom. That's such
Yeah,
a
way to go,
cool
Adrian's
way
mom, too. Good job.
to support that. Here comes one from a deleted Reddit account. I was working on a months-long project far away from home with 3 other people. We were basically together 24/7. Since I'd been on HRT for almost 2 years at this point, while still presenting male, I decided to come out to them before they noticed something. I'd been hinting at it for a few days, mostly by making the joke about not having any testosterone. We were out at a favorite bar one night, and my boss called me out on the joke and asked me to explain. I was pretty blunt, and she responded with, "You were cool before, but now you are awesome." The boss was
this
hyped.
person's boss.
Another coworker then followed this up with a great other euphoric moment, which was she admitted that she'd always struggled to see me as a dude to begin with, and now she understood why. The whole experience was very validating.
Yay.
Phoenix at 45 waited until they were in their 40s to come out as trans. They were afraid to tell their military brother, but here's what happened. I wanted to share my experience coming out to my brother, a retired military officer. A little background first. I had already come out as trans to one of my 2 brothers and one of my sisters. Both were calculated risks. I thought both those conversations would go well, and they did. They suggested I should tell my brother, so I let my brother know I wanted to talk to him about something big and important. We found some time to talk, ironically on National Coming Out Day. I'm finally building up to telling him that I'm trans and melting down in the process, crying my eyes out. Finally, I tell him and got total acceptance and unconditional love. He even offers to let me move in with him if I need to. He proceeds to tell me that one of his best friends is gay. He said that he would put down his own life in this soldier's hands without thinking twice. Hearing that kind of thing made me cry even more. I know the whole world can't be like this, but I wish there were more people in the world like my brother.
Oh, that's so sweet. It's such a struggle when you are coming out to somebody who you don't know what their reaction is going to be. And when they just offer like unconditional acceptance and love, and that warms my heart so much.
It's
At
so
Phoenix, whatever your last of your tag was, I'm crying with you.
Phoenix at 45. Well, and imagine, we had heard from someone pretty recently too who has come out in their 50s as trans, and it does not matter what point in your life you come out. When you're ready for it, do it.
Yeah. And, there's no pressure to come out when you're not ready for it either. Like, I want people to come out when they feel ready enough to do it. And we support you. We love you. The transgender is here for you. So keep reaching out with your stories, too.
Yes, please. I have one more for you here. A friend of mine is a little odd. Oh, this comes from J.R. Slayer of Rajang. Here's what she says. A friend of mine is a little odd. He has no self-control, really, and often says things completely out of the blue that are weird. A few of my favorite examples was when we played a word association game with a psychiatrist friend of mine, and she said sniff, and he immediately exclaimed, glue! And then got embarrassed and panicked. She looked utterly baffled. Or the time he said to my friend's mom, "You remind me of the sugar plum fairy." He panicked and babbled, I don't mean you're short. No, you're not short and fat. And then he panicked. She, meanwhile, was laughing to borderline hysteria. So, yeah, I expected him to say something weird, and he didn't. She means when she came out to him.
Yeah.
Nothing weird was said. A day later, I was eating breakfast, and he walked past and suddenly froze. Out of nowhere, he turned to me, and his little face lit up with glee. Does this mean you'll get big tits? He asked excitedly. I laughed so hard and so suddenly the hot coffee I'd just taken a sip of shot out my nose. It hurts, you guys.
I love it when you become a coffee dragon for having a supportive friend come out or support you coming out and everything. That's hilarious. Oh,
so please send us your coming out stories, positive, funny, negative, funny or not.
Yeah, anything. We love to read them. We read all of them. They are wholesome and amazing. And good Lord, I wish that my coming out stories were as funny and as amazing as these were. Like, my coming out was fucking simple, it feels like. Transgender, a podcast chronicling my transition
and a cisgender man learning how to support it. We are so pumped today. We have Aydian Dowling as our guest, and we'll let Aydian talk a little bit about himself and his background here. But hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hey,
welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thanks so much, Anna, Cameron. Appreciate you.
So tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Oh, man. All right. So I transitioned in 2009, which feels like forever ago. I'm 12 years on HRT. I started testosterone in 2009. I guess I should also say, for people who can't actually see, I'm a transgender man. My pronouns are he, him. And yeah, I mean, I kind of fell into activism work by sharing my story online through YouTube. And because I felt all alone, I didn't have any friends who really understood what I was going through. I couldn't really, even at that time, in 2009, it was super on the DL if you were trans. We didn't have quite as much pride as we have now, which is awesome to see. And so, yeah, I just started documenting my journey to make some friends and have people to talk to, and that kind of just kind of grew and grew and grew and went from YouTube and transferred to Facebook and then Instagram. And to make a 12-year story much shorter, in that time, I was lucky enough to be the first transgender man on the cover of Men's Health magazine in 2015. And that got me on the Ellen DeGeneres show and Good Morning America and all of these random interview people, and that was really awesome and a really cool time because that was right when Laverne Cox was on the cover of Time magazine. We were kind of having this, as they called, the tipping point of the trans world. And I was finally actually able to say, I'm transgender. And some people knew what I was talking about, which was different than, 6 years earlier where not many people knew exactly what I was talking about. In that time, I started a nonprofit called Point of Pride. And now today it's been 6 years and I'm really proud of the board. We're 100% volunteer. We've helped over 13,000 trans people worldwide. And this year we will be giving away our $400,000th to support trans people in their medical transitions. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks. It's definitely not at all. I can take 1/8 of the credit because there's 8 of us on the board and we all work really hard at it. So yeah, I'm really proud of the team there. It's been a really awesome experience kind of growing that nonprofit to what it is today.
So it sounds like, you hit critical mass as an activist at a time that was really, really critical in society. So that's really amazing. I don't know how you feel about this, but I want to bring up because it's in a lot of the stories about you. Your modeling career started with a naked Adam Levine cover. you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I love that everyone says I was a model because I never self-identified as a model. That was a
Got it.
identity given to me that I was non-consensual. But yes, so back in the day, there was no magazines for trans men. There was one called Original Plumbing, which was a great magazine, and there was another one called FTM Magazine. Jason, the runner of that magazine, was like, "Hey, we want to put you on the cover." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be on the cover of this magazine," right? There was like maybe, I don't even know, 800 people who subscribed to this magazine, but it was a really big deal. And we were like, let's do like something shocking. I'll never forget that he sent me the photo on Christmas Eve. And we were at the diner and I showed it to my wife and I was like, "What do you think? I'm going to be naked. What do you think?" And she was like, "I have to get a manicure and you can do it," because she was like, she's going to be the hands that cover my genitals.
Yes.
And then when it went viral, my mom texted me, "Why are you naked all over my Facebook?" So that was a conversation to have. And I was not naked. It was not, yes, I was naked in the photo, but no, I was not naked in the image.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was just kind of, at the time, Adam Levine was like the hottest guy in America or whatever, on the planet. And we were just trying to say that trans men are men. You put these photos side by side. And for my identity, which is on the much more binary spectrum of gender identity, it was like, if you're going to call this man a man, then you should also be calling trans men men. And that was kind of the concept behind it. Yeah. And that's my naked story.
I love that so much.
Thanks.
It is very impactful in, I think, the most shocking way. So that is an amazing story to be able to share.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think it shocked my mom also.
Yeah. Yep.
That would shock me too.
It could happen.
Are you saying you would be shocked if I was naked on the cover of a magazine?
A magazine? Yeah, I would definitely be shocked. I'd be very proud of you, but I would definitely be shocked.
Looking for positivity within our community? Then listen to Queer We Are, the podcast where you hear some of the most interesting and successful LGBTQ plus people share uplifting stories, including their definition of success, how they achieved it, and what they learned along the way. Guests include celebrities, activists, politicians, athletes, and many more. Click the link in the show notes and check us out, or go to queerweare.com. If you've been looking for both fun and inspiration, now you know where to find us. Queer We Are.
So you are a co-founder of an app called Trace that helps people track their transition. Part of what we wanted to be able to talk about with you today is sharing that concept and that idea with our listeners, some of whom maybe are not able to come out fully or need some of that extra support. And a way to track your transition is a really foundational way in being able to transition fully eventually. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the app and kind of talking about how it can help people?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. So Trace is actually, that's the name of the app. And it's actually an acronym in itself because, we're part of the LGBTQ. We love our acronyms. And so Trace actually stands for Transition Recording and Community Engagement. And so Trace is a place for trans and non-binary folks to track their transition, whatever stage that is. A lot of people think that's only related to medical transition, but, some people decide, some people come out as who their authentic selves and they start to see themselves change and their expressions change. That's something to document, to document the first day you came out to the 6 months and a year after. Usually you're kind of like expressing yourself in new ways. And then of course there's the medical aspect where people who decide to medically transition, there's definitely changes that go on there. And I think, when it comes to tracking, a lot of times we kind of just forget how far we've come and what we've been through. And I think having those photos and having, images to remind us of hey, maybe you're not where you want to be, but look where you've come from. Like, look how far you've gone now.
Yeah.
I think that's why on TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff, like all of those photos usually are like really powerful for people who decide that medical transition is something for them. And so I wanted to have a place that we could celebrate that. We can make sure that, you are documenting. So there's a lot of different features, and the feature we're talking about now would be photo tracking. And so you're able to create albums within the app. And so for myself, I know that if I had this back then, it would be beard growth, like 100%. I would be tracking every chin hair on my chinny chin. And
you have a majestic beard.
Why, thank you.
Just want to point that out.
I appreciate that. So like being able to track something like that, right? So being able to say like, oh, my first day on HRT and my 6 months and 2 years, and remembering too. So there's a reminder that can happen. So you can set up an album. For instance, if we do the beard growth, right? You take a photo of your face, you put it into the album, and then you'd be able to remind yourself once a month, once a week, every day, however, whatever type A you are, you can decide to track as obsessively as you like. And we'll remind you to do that. And then we have comparisons too. So, you can create a comparison with some of those images as well. And then you can do something which is sharing it to our community. So on Trace, you don't have friends, you don't have followers, you have allies, because we're all in this together. And allies are both trans and non-binary folks. They're cisgender people. They're people who are there to support you. And that's where it's very different from places like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. This is your community. You're building this community to support you. And the people that are there, they want to be there. And they're not having questions as to why you're celebrating 5 chin hairs, right? Like, they're like, congrats, that's amazing. They're there to encourage you. And, I don't know how it's been for you, but, for me, when you first start transitioning, sometimes people just don't get it. And they're just like, cool, like, why are we having a birthday party for your 1 year? Like, I'll come because there's cake, but I still don't fully understand why I'm here, right? And so we want to be that bridge between trans and non-binary folks and cisgender allies who want to support but maybe don't know how. We want to help them and provide resources for them. And also, like, for trans folks, sometimes it's hard to be like, hey, like, I'll speak for myself, like, hey, I'm going to the gynecologist and it's going to be really hard for me. And I'd love for one of my allies to come. And this is a place where you could share that and you could get support, and people can support you in whatever way that feels best for you, as opposed to having to expose yourself on social media to trolls and just, hate, anti-LGBT stuff, and people who are out to make you feel bad for who you are. And, Trace is about celebrating who you are with the people who care and love you. So that's kind of there's so many other aspects, but that's the part that makes me really excited. I think a lot of trans folks, like, it's hard to talk to even people that you love and support you about your transition. And I think, being able to maybe be a voice for you when you can't at certain times, maybe that'll help. Like, my goal, my hope is that it'll help you feel and not even feel, but remind you that, like, people want to support you. There are people out there that love you and who you are, and, like, just want to remind people of that,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have 2 questions from that. My first is a little bit simpler, I think, and that is, it sounds from kind of what you're talking about, the best way to start this is to be starting at, like, a baby trans, as I like to call them, part, where they're young in their transition, just starting, things like that. Is there any opportunity for people who have gone through a lot of transition, like yourself or me or anything like that, to use the app?
Yeah. So I definitely agree that, like, if we had, I think, like, right now in the babiness of the app, right? There's going to be so many more features coming. Every month we've got new features coming out. Right now, like, being young in your transition, like, we have a lot of features for that. And as you were saying, for people who've kind of, maybe you're not taking a photo every day or every week anymore because you're kind of like leveled out, right? So one thing is that what I've noticed from a lot of elder trans, if that works, is, for some of us, we don't have a lot of community. For some of us, living, maybe not even stealth, but just not being out, not necessarily like kind of like getting into your everyday life, growing up, right? Having your everyday responsibilities. You're just not as exposed to as many trans folks as you used to be. And some people have, have the privilege of passing. And so, like, I go to an LGBT event, and if I'm not with my wife, a lot of people just think I'm a gay man, which is totally fine, but it's not who I am. And so there's a misrepresentation. And then I'm just like, oh, no, I'm actually not gay, I'm trans. And then people are like, oh, and it's fine, but it's like, it's hard to make connections. For me, using Trace is like a really great way to make connections for people who have been stealth or just have a hard time having community. One thing that will be coming, it's way early to talk about, but I'm very excited for it. Probably in the realisticness, like I'm not going to be like, it's coming out this year. Like it's probably not coming out this year. I'm just putting it out there. We are going to develop a technology where we will be able to look through your photos, and we'll be able to find individual photos of just you in the photo, pull those photos out. And then based on when you say you started your HRT, you will be able to look at the back end of that photo and what date that photo was taken, and tell you, and then categorize and kind of backlog for you your own albums of transition. So then you'd be able to select and be like, oh, 2 days on HRT, 35 days, 127, and we'll be able to kind of categorize it for you, which I'm excited about because I have like thousands of photos. I just want to run through some AI system to pull out all of them and tell me what day it was. So that's something that like I definitely think will really draw in a lot of people who like maybe I don't know if did you document any of your transition or take photos or anything?
I don't believe I did, just because for me, it was more of that internalized feeling, because I have a lot of really good supports around me in person. But I also understand that there's a lot of people who don't have that and rely on those photos and everything to track and make sure that, they're getting that support that they need. So I very much appreciate that feature. And I think that can help a lot of elder trans.
Right, exactly.
And then my second question was, you kind of talked about your past, you talked about passing and everything. What is it like in the day of Aydian for you? How do you feel euphoric? How do you feel like you're living your trans experience?
Yeah, so I have a wife, she's cisgender, queer, and I have a son right now. And we have a 3-year-old, 3.5 to be specific. So we just moved, and we moved to Florida, and we always lived in apartments, and we've been able to like rent a house. But there's like a lot more responsibilities. I'm like, I have to do things now. And one of the things is mowing the lawn. The first day that I got like a lawnmower off like Marketplace, right? And I'm mowing the lawn, and my son's name is Antler. So Antler is like behind me with his own little lawnmower that's like a little fake one, and pushing it behind me, right? And like running around and chasing me, and like I'm going up and down, and he's following behind me. And it was just this like super euphoric moment of like being on my lawn with my child, and like it was hot, my shirt was off, and I was just like doing the most mundane basic chore that most people would call it, right? They'd be like, oh, I have to mow the lawn, right? And I just had this moment of just like this is it. Like this is all I wanted for so long, was just to like be a man in my yard with my shirt off, sweating, doing a basic ass chore, like mowing my lawn, and my son almost getting killed multiple times by running in front of me. But like, this is it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like this is,
yeah, that's right. Parenting.
Yeah. And so that's where I find like a lot of my euphoria is in those really basic things, just like sitting down to dinner, and like my family's there that I never thought I could have. Oh. And like there's still joy in, it's been 12 years since I started transitioning, and there's still joy in just like someone being, calling me Mister, or like, because there's still moments where like that doesn't happen, right? Like I make a phone call and people are like, "Hi, ma'am," and I'm like, "Hi," you know what I mean? And so like I think it's really the basic things. I think a lot of people think like, oh, euphoria must be this big moment, and it's these like small little flashes that really like keep you going,
I think that those are the best moments too. I think of just small euphoric moments for me, and sometimes those are the ones that you remember for like weeks afterward. So I definitely understand that. It's not all about the, oh my God, today's my first day on HRT. It's often about the, hey, I lived my life as a human and that was a good feeling.
Right.
So,
well, that's like the agenda, right? Like the trans agenda is actually to be like the most basic person you've ever met. Like that's actually the goal, is to be like so basic that you're kind of like, really? Like this is it? This is it, At least for me. I speak for myself,
I completely agree with you.
We hear that a lot. Yeah. Yep. The agenda is to live as human beings with other human beings, which actually then leads me to probably my last question here, which is your app is really community focused. And I think that is really cool from my perspective, again, as a cisgender ally in this movement. I'm curious, what's community look like for you, and how has community been a part of your transition?
So, I mean, community has been everything. Like community has allowed me to do what I do, which is activism work, travel the country, speak, being able to start the nonprofit, start Point of Pride, start Trace, like, go after my dreams because of the support of the community, right? Like I wouldn't, my goal, like I dropped out of college and became a baker. That was and then I started decorating cakes. Like that was the dream, was like, I'm going to own my own cake shop and I'm going to make cakes. Right. And like, and I really tried to do that, but the community kept pulling me to do these other things and to do these other things. And it just came to the point where I was like, I think maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm supposed to, be a voice for those, be visible for those who cannot. It's been an amazing ride of like beauty and blessings and, acknowledgement of privilege and just really being able to live my life. And I think that's another big thing around Trace is like, I want people to feel that, I want them to know that like they are not alone and that they can be the most basic trans or non-binary person out there if they want to.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that is a perfect analogy for passing.
Thanks.
What else would you want to tell us? Or Anna, do you have any other questions?
I don't have any other questions. Do you want to talk about the features of the app a little bit more? Or you kind of already went over the photo tracking and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, some of the other features we have are anniversary. So you can put in an anniversary and it'll share it on your anniversary day. It'll share it kind of like we kind of mimic like how Facebook will put like happy birthday and then people can comment underneath and create a thread. So we have that feature, which is really cool and also good for like all the parents and friends who are not good at dates and they kind of forget it's your birthday / anniversary day / whatever else day. And see, there you go. So, they can know and help celebrate. And we'll also have like triggers in the future of being like, hey, in 2 weeks, like, do you want to do this thing? Like, don't forget, for allies and stuff like that. So different types of anniversaries, and also good to remember for those who do want to like get any type of surgeries and stuff, unfortunately, like there's a lot of hoops to jump through. So usually you want to know, when did you socially transition? When did you medically transition? When did you blah, blah, blah? And so being able to keep that all in one spot is really important for doctors and therapists who have to write these letters, and also things to celebrate, right? And then we also have reminders. So reminders to take HRT, reminders for doctor's appointments, reminders for if you wear any type of tucking garments or any type of binding garments to either put them on or take them off. We'll also be having countdowns will be coming out very soon. So if you have have a surgery coming up, it'll say, hey, 257 days, 256 days, and you can kind of count down and celebrate that as well. And then we have the photo albums and stuff like that, which, as I mentioned earlier, all of those amazing features. And the cool thing there is that it's kind of like I'm coining the term Trans Cloud because it's stored in the app. So if you lose your phone, if you accidentally delete a bunch of stuff, your phone falls off of the boat, you've got all of your transition stuff related in the app right there, which is cool because I have had many phones since my beginning of transition, and I don't know where a lot of my photos are, to be completely honest, right? So that's one cool thing. Then within the community feature, right, so we have tags, so you can tag in your profile some things that you can connect to other people. So I'm in Florida, so I could put the tag Florida. I'm a dad, I could put dad, and then you can connect with other people. You can also, when you send a ally request, you can kind of put in a little message. Instead of just having a random person send you an ally request, the person who's requesting can put in a little message that says like, hey, I saw you're also in Florida, would love to connect. Or, hey, I saw you're also the parent to a trans daughter, would love to connect with you, right? So I think that's another thing is like cis allies can connect with other cis allies to have their own support, right? So parents can support each other, brothers, sisters, siblings can support one another. Yeah, so those are most of the features right now. We have so many features coming out. If anyone has been listening and they're really interested, you can just go to the App Store. We want people to know that this app is for us, and us meaning trans, non-binary, cis allies. It's for us, and we're listening. So unlike Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, like if you send us a message like, I'm probably at the other end, and we have a commitment to never having our feet in concrete. We are always going to pivot so that the community is really telling us what this app is supposed to be for us. And we're always listening. So yeah, always open to feedback and thoughts. And, you can also tell us nice things too. If you like things, you can email us and let us know. That's always nice.
That's awesome. And that's all really cool. And Aydian, how do people find you out there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and on Trace. You can find me on Trace too. So you can just search my name on both of them. So my name is spelled unique, I will say. It's spelled Aydian. So you can just search Aydian Dowling and you can find me. Also, you can find Trace on Instagram if you want to start following and you need some convincing to get onto the platform. That's fine too. And I did mention Point of Pride, so I would like people to know that we have tons of free resources at Point of Pride, and that's pointofpride.org. Everything, all of our resources are free. We have surgery funds, electrolysis funds, binders, gaffs, all the things you can apply and get your needs met through there.
Well, you'll also be able to find Anna and I on Trace too. So
yes,
look us up when you join in.
I've been on Trace now for like 2 weeks or so, and I've enjoyed it so far. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to explore.
I'm sending you an ally request once you get off. In case you're wondering, you'll have me in there.
Well, Aydian, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate all of this background, and we'll be excited to connect with you via Trace moving forward.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really, truly appreciate it. And, would love to be back on again in the future.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
If you have questions about transitioning or supporting someone who is transitioning and you'd like us to talk about it on the show, please shoot an email to questions@transgendapod.com, hit the chat with us button on transgendapod.com, or hit us up on social media.
Be sure to check out our episode description for links to resources on today's topics, including Aydian Dowling, the Trace Project, and Point of Pride.
Thanks for listening. I've been Cam.
I've been Anna.
And this has been The Transgenda.
Love you all, except your bigots.
Would you like to support our podcast? Well, you're in luck. We have a Patreon now. Just visit patreon.com/transgendapod, and for as little as $3 a month, you can support the content that we're creating. And for $20 a month, you can join our Sticker Club, which provides you with a monthly live stream, a shout out on the podcast, and a sticker every month from ourselves and creators that we adore. Again, just visit patreon.com/transgendapod, and thank you for all your support.